to show you how I did this trendy fall design, but before we start, make sure that you prep well the nails. And I already done this step, so now I'm gonna put the form completely straight because in today's tutorial, I'm gonna be doing square shaped nails. Also, these nails are going to be pretty long. If you guys don't want them to be this long, that's fine because the design is also going to work on short nails. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm adding these acrylic beads until I build up this first nail. I'm gonna make sure that the entire nail is well covered, and now I'm gonna apply the last acrylic bead. What you guys have to make sure here is not to touch the cuticle or the skin because that can eventually cause lifting. And now that I have this first nail done, of course, I'm gonna apply some pressure on the sides. You guys know that I like doing this step because I feel like it makes the nails look more natural. Now moving on to the second nail, I'm gonna start by applying the form, and something that you guys have to make sure here is that it has to be completely symmetrical because otherwise what can happen is that our nail can end up being crooked, and that's really hard to fix. So that's going to completely ruin our design. And the first thing that I like to do is that I apply the first acrylic bead between the natural nail and the form because I feel like that's going to make my nail be stronger. And slowly I'm gonna keep dragging the acrylic downwards until I create this nail. Like I told you earlier, this nail is going to be pretty long. It's going to be over XL size. And now I'm gonna apply the last bead. What I like to do is that first I connect it with what I already have built, and then I'm gonna keep pushing it upwards until the entire nail is well covered. And this is how the second nail looks like. Now onto the third one. I'm gonna start by applying the form just like always, and then I'm gonna put the first bead between the natural nail and the form. The way that I like to move the acrylic is that I do little taps on it and I keep dragging it wherever I want it to go. Also, something that I recommend you guys is to clean your brush as often as possible because, like you guys know, acrylic dries out by itself, so what can happen is that it can dry on the brush and that completely ruins it. Trust me, that's happened to me before. So what I do is that I keep a paper on the side and I keep cleaning the brush with some monomer. And of course, I'm still gonna apply some pressure on the sides. Make sure that you always do this step because this is going to make your nails look more natural. Now moving on to the last nail for this tutorial, I'm gonna start by applying the form, and I'm gonna put the first acrylic bead between the natural nail and the form. Something that I recommend you guys is to make sure that the beads are not too liquid or too dry because that's gonna make the whole process a lot more difficult for you. It has to be something in between. That's the perfect way to create the nails. And slowly I'm gonna build up this last nail. Now I'm gonna apply the last bead. Here I'm gonna make sure that everything is well covered, but remember not to touch the cuticle or the skin. And of course, I'm still gonna apply some pressure on the sides, and this is how these acrylic nails look like. Like you guys can tell, they don't look perfect, but that's why I always say that filing is one of the most important steps. When I file nails, I like to start by filing the sides because I feel like it makes the whole shape look better. And since these are square shaped, I'm gonna make sure that the file is completely straight. And this is how the nails look like after filing the sides. Like you guys can tell, they look a lot more defined now. And the last step to do is to file the surface, and I like doing this by using my e-file, but if you guys want to, you can use a regular one. And here what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna file down these nails until they're pretty thin, and also if there's any bumps left behind, I'm gonna make sure that they are well filed. This is how the nails look like after being filed. Now everything is ready for us to do the design. But before we start, I recommend you to clean off these nails because after filing, there's always going to be some dust left behind. And if we don't take that off, that can make our design look dirty. So for today's tutorial, you guys know that we're going to be doing this fall related design. So I'm going to be using a lot of neutrals, and I'm going to start by applying this base color that kind of has this yellowish undertone. I hope that you guys can tell through the video. But basically what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to make sure that all of the nails are well covered. And something about these lighter colors is sometimes they're kind of transparent. So what I'm going to do is that once I have all of these nails painted, I'm going to cure it for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over it again until it's the color that I end up liking. Because otherwise the base color is going to look a little bit strange. And once I have this done, of course, I'm still going to cure it for another 30 seconds. And this is how the nails look like after applying the base color. I think that this is the first time that I use this nail polish, and I think that it looks pretty cool. Now I'm gonna move on and I'm gonna use this darker neutral, and also I'm gonna be using this thin nail art brush because it's going to make the whole process a lot easier for me. And basically what I'm going to be doing here is that I'm going to be creating these French designs, these French nails. And the first thing that I did is that I created this curvy line that is going to serve me as a base for later on apply the nail polish on the tip of the nail. You guys know that the nail polishes that I use are gel polishes, so that's why I have to cure them for them to dry. And something that I recommend you is to be curing each nail as you go on, because otherwise what can happen is that the design can end up being messy or dirty and you're gonna have to do it all over again. And just like I told you earlier, the first thing I'm going to be doing is create this curvy line because it's going to serve me as a base. And now I'm gonna start adding the nail polish on the tip of the nail. Something that I recommend you guys is to also be using the thin nail art brush, especially on the curvy line, because it's going to make your nail be a lot more defined, just like I'm doing right here. I really like doing this step because I feel like it ends up looking prettier. This is how the base looks like. Now everything is ready and I can start doing the design. I'm going to be using the same thin nail art brush, but this time I'm going to be using this brown gel paint because it's going to make the whole process way easier for me. The first thing I'm going to do here is that I'm going to go over the curvy line of the French nail, and also I'm going to be creating these water drop designs that I actually done a lot on my YouTube channel, but I really like how they look like and they're pretty simple to do. Basically what you do is that you create the outline of the drop, and like you guys can tell, there are a bunch of curvy lines, and then you go over it and you start filling it up. I recommend you guys to do it this way because otherwise it's going to be way too hard to know where you have to be applying the dark brown, and it can end up being a little bit messy. And also something that I don't know if you guys can notice, but basically what I'm trying to do here is create different sizes of these water drops, because I feel like it's going to make the whole design be a little bit more realistic, and I just think that overall it looks better. And once I'm done creating this design, I'm gonna be curing it for about 60 seconds since I'm using gel paint. I recommend you guys to keep curing each nail as you go on because otherwise it can end up being a little bit messy. On this second nail, I'm gonna be creating this kind of smiley face, and I think it's going to be the easiest design on this tutorial. The first thing that I did is that I created these two eyes, which is very simple. It's basically doing straight lines. And now I'm gonna move on and do the smiley face. And here I'm gonna make sure that it's pretty thin. And I'm also going to do these other two lines on the sides to kind of make it look a little bit more realistic. And to finish up, I'm gonna create the tongue, which is so simple. It's basically doing a half circle. And this is how the second nail looks like. Now I'm gonna move on and do the third one. I'm gonna start by creating this curvy line in the middle of the nail, and I'm gonna start filling up the right side of it with the dark brown gel paint. Here what you have to make sure is that everything is well covered, but remember not to go over the French design because that can make our design look a little bit messy. And to finish up, I'm gonna create two dots with the opposite colors. This is so simple. I'm just gonna be using this dotting tool. On this last nail, what I'm going to do is kind of create this sweater design that I really like how it looks like. So the first thing to do is that I'm gonna create this kind of chunky line with this white gel polish, and then I'm gonna move on and do these thin lines using this black gel paint. I'm gonna make sure that they are as thin as possible. Then I'm gonna be doing another line near the tip of the nail, and I'm gonna be using the same white gel polish. And I'm also going to do the two thin black lines. Now I'm gonna move on and use the dark brown gel paint, and basically what I'm going to do here is also do this type of sweater lines, but like you guys can tell, they're gonna be thinner and they're going to be on the opposite sides. And this is how this last nail looks like. I think it's one of my favorites. Now I'm gonna cure it for another 60 seconds, and this is how the designs ended up looking. But we're not completely done yet because what we have to do is apply a little bit of top coat. But this time I'm gonna be using this top coat that leaves this matte effect, which I don't often use, but I think that for this tutorial it's gonna look really good. And basically what I'm going to do here is that I'm gonna go over all of the nails and I'm gonna make sure that they are well covered, and then I'm gonna cure everything for another 60 seconds. And this is how the final design looks like. I think that the matte effect ended up making the nails look really cool. And honestly, these designs are pretty simple, so if you're starting out with nails, I'm sure that you can do it as well. If you guys like this tutorial, make sure that you subscribe and like this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!